Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I'm going to be giving my official Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2025 53-man roster predictions, and you know what, guys? For fun, I even threw in a 16-man practice squad in there as well. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. I have got the depth chart up here just as a visual aid for the players I'm going to be talking about. I've got my sticky note with all of the players written down. So let's go ahead and get started with the quarterback position. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers carrying 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. I have quarterback Baker Mayfield, quarterback Kyle Trask, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, all 3 making the team there. It just feels right, in my opinion. That's a good veteran quarterback room with Mayfield as your starter, maybe Teddy as your backup, and then Kyle Trask as your third quarterback. It just feels like the right room to me. And if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, look, knock on wood for this, but if there was ever a scenario where Baker Mayfield went down, I do believe the Buccaneers would put in Teddy Bridgewater before they put in Kyle Trask, just because of Bridgewater's experience. That might be me just overhyping and glazing Teddy B, but that is the way I feel. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also carrying 3 running backs. I have them carrying the trio right here: Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, and Sean Tucker as their 3 running backs. I don't expect any major changes in that running back room. They may have a guy or 2 on the practice squad, which we'll get to in a little bit, but I feel good about those 3 being the 3 running backs going forward. In the wide receiver room, I have them carrying 6 wide receivers. You have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, you've got Jalen McMillan, you have got Emeka Egbuka, who I honestly think is going to be this team's 3rd wide receiver to start this upcoming season. Then this is where it gets kind of interesting, right? Or not even kind of interesting, very interesting. I have them keeping Tez Johnson, and I have them keeping, let me go ahead and scroll over here, Sterling Shepard as the 5th and 6th wide receivers. So I do not have Trey Palmer making it. I do not have a few guys making it, really. Trey Palmer is in there. You have also got some other wide receivers in there as well. I'll talk about in a little bit. I have some honorable mentions and some practice squad guys in there as well. But right now, Trey Palmer does not make the 53-man roster. Offensive line, I have the Buccaneers taking 4 offensive tackles to the 53. I've got Tristan Wirfs and Charlie Heck. I don't think that is going to change under any circumstances. I've got Luke Gedeke, and I have got Benjamin Chukwuma. They gave Benjamin Chukwuma a big deal. I think the great story of his continues here, and I do think he makes that 53-man roster. Really no major surprises here at offensive tackle, in my opinion. For offensive guard, I have the Bucs carrying 4. I have them carrying not Graham Barton. I have them carrying Ben Bredesen and Cody Mock. I have them carrying Elijah Klein, and I have them carrying Mike Jordan. I listed Mike Jordan as an offensive guard. He can play both guard and tackle, which I think gives him that versatility that will have him make this final 53-man roster over maybe a guy like a Raekwon O'Neal, over a Luke Haggard, some of the other guys that are out there in that mix. For the tight end position, I have them carrying 4. I have them carrying K. Dotton, Payne Durham, Ko Keith, and Devin Culp. No big surprises there, in my opinion, as well. Finally, guys, at center, I have them carrying 2. Graham Barton and Jake Majors make the 53-man roster. Jake Majors, much like Benjamin Chukwuma, got a big guaranteed deal in the offseason as an undrafted free agent, much like Benjamin Chukwuma. I think that is going to be a big deciding factor in him making this team. Shout out to Sua Opeta. We will talk about him in a little bit as well. But folks, again, just to recap the offense here. Quarterback is Mayfield, Trask, Teddy. Running back, Bucky, Rachaad, and Sean Tucker. Wide receiver, Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, McMillan, Shepard, and Tez Johnson. Tight end, Otton, Payne Durham, Ko Keith, and Devin Culp. Offensive tackle, Wirfs, Gedeke, Heck, and Chukwuma. Guard, Mock, Bredesen, Klein, and Mike Jordan. Center, Barton, and Majors. So I feel pretty good about that offense. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm wrong about some guys, right about some guys? Let me know down in the comments section below. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, starting off with the defensive line. This was tough. But I have the Bucs carrying 4 defensive ends. Kalijah Cansey makes it, Logan Hall makes it, and then I have the combination of Greg Gaines as well as Elijah Roberts, the 5th round draft pick, getting in there, making the roster as well. This was tough. There was a couple of guys that like almost made the cut. I'll talk about them in a little bit. But right now, I have them carrying 4 defensive ends, 1 nose tackle in Vita Vea as well. So 5 defensive linemen total. It's a little slim in my opinion, but it was really tough to cut down some of these position groups to hit that 53 in my opinion. And defensive line was one of those groups where I just had to make some tough decisions there. For outside edge rushing linebackers, I have them carrying 5. Hassan Reddick is going to make it, Yaya Diaby, Chris Braswell, Anthony Nelson, and finally, I have not Marquise Watts, Jose Ramirez making that final spot on the 53-man roster. Only 5. I know some people have thought like, hey, maybe they could carry 6. For the purposes of this was another group that I had to cut a little bit, make a tough decision there, and I went with Jose Ramirez as that 5th edge rusher. Inside linebacker was another tough decision in terms of do I keep 4? Do I keep 5? I went with 4. I went with Levante David, Servassier Dennis, Deion Jones, and Anthony Walker Jr. Again, there's a couple of guys here like Greer Jr. and Nick Jackson and stuff like that, as well as John Bullock. We'll get to those names here a little bit later on, but that was tough deciding between 5 or 4 inside linebackers. Cornerback, I have them keeping 5. I have them keeping Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum. I have them keeping Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish. Finally, the 5th cornerback is going to be Bryce Hall. Another tough group where it's like, hey, you have some depth there where guys really could make that 53-man roster, like a Josh Hayes, maybe like a Kindle Vidor. So that was a tough call. Finally, for the safety room, I have them carrying 5 as well. Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith is in there, Kayvon Merriweather, and finally, J.J. Roberts gets the 5th and final spot in that safety room. We'll get to Rashad Wisdom and Shiloh Sanders in a little bit. Finally, guys, with the special teams position, Riley Dixon's going to be the punter. Chase McLaughlin is your kicker. Evan Deckers is your long snapper. Now, we can firstly get to some honorable mentions because there are some guys who did not make the practice squad for one reason or another. I'm going to dive into that right now. Firstly, I have quarterback Connor Bazelak. There is a very real chance that he could get in over the quarterback who I have making the practice squad, but only because the quarterback is hurt currently and could possibly be put on the injured reserve. So it would not surprise me if that player does get put on the IR, that Connor Bazelak is your practice squad quarterback. Owen Wright is another guy I considered putting on the practice squad. He's just signed in pretty late, so maybe he's a guy they bring in somewhere along the line. I got to talk about Trey Palmer. I honestly think they could trade Trey Palmer at some point. He would not last on the practice squad. He just wouldn't, in my opinion. If they put him on the practice squad, he would be snatched up right away. I really do believe that. So he is more of a guy of, I think they may trade a guy like Trey Palmer. Or who knows, maybe they even cut Sterling Shepard and just try and stash him on the practice squad. But shout out Trey Palmer. He was probably one of the toughest cuts I had to make, if not the toughest cut out of the 53-man roster. So, they could certainly keep him, and it would not be surprising to me at all. Also, shout out wide receiver Garrett Green, who has gotten some praise lately. Quarterback convert Garrett Green. He was another guy I really thought about putting on the practice squad, but I just didn't have enough room. He could be on there, and it wouldn't be surprising to me at all. I want to talk about Desmond Watson. I thought about putting him on the practice squad for sure, but he just hasn't practiced, so it just didn't make a lot of sense for me. I think I can see him continuing to work out and continue to lose weight, maybe in Tampa. Maybe he's like not on the practice squad, but certainly on that short list of guys to call if you need him. But right now, the fact that he just hasn't practiced at all, and he isn't really in line to take any preseason snaps, I just don't see him being a practice squad guy currently. Shout out John Bullock, another guy that I thought about putting on the practice squad but decided not to. Again, could very well be on that short list of guys to call back if you need him. Also, Tyreek Funderburk. It's rough because he did start games last year. He's another guy that, like, hey, maybe could be traded, outside of the team, like a spare part for a spare part type of thing, with Trey Palmer. Funderburk, I don't think will be a guy who could survive on the Bucs practice squad. I could see him signing with another practice squad or even making it on another team's 53-man roster. But those are all of my honorable mentions for our practice squad. The first name I have on there is quarterback Michael Pratt. Again, if he goes to the IR for his lower back injury, throw Connor Bazelak in there, in my opinion. Running back, I've got Josh Williams in there. I think that the Buccaneers like him a lot. He had like this weird, crazy shout out from Baker Mayfield a couple of practices ago, which was interesting to me. Wide receiver. Now, this one I actually had to be convinced of. I spoke with my good friend and colleague, Mr. Evan Wanish. Raheem Jarrett gets in there, as well as Ryan Miller gets in there. I think the Buccaneers are pretty high up on both of those guys, so I have both of them making that practice squad. Again, you could throw like a Garrett Green in there instead of a Raheem Jarrett or a Ryan Miller, and that wouldn't necessarily surprise me that much as well, but those guys do seem like two like solid options. Offensive guard, I've got Sua Opeta making it. He's got the center guard versatility. I think you can stash him on the practice squad and it would be fine. I do have just like, I put offensive tackle, random dude, because like I think they will just have some random OT that we probably haven't heard of make that practice squad, so it is what it is. Defensive end, I have got two defensive ends. I have got CJ Brewer and I've got Mike Green. I think that both those guys offer a lot of versatility to that defensive line room for Brewer and Green. Could Brewer maybe make the 53-man roster? It's certainly possible. But right now, I have got CJ Brewer and Mike Green making that 53-man roster. Actually, matter of fact, I may just make a change here. Instead of random offensive tackle dude, I'm actually going to throw... Actually, you know what? It's tough. Instead of CJ Brewer, I'm going to throw Adam Gotsis on there. Apologies to CJ Brewer fans, but I've got Adam Gotsis and Mike Green on the practice squad there. Shout out Adam Gotsis, shout out Mike Green. Edge rusher, I've got Marquise Watts being put on the practice squad there. Again, just didn't have room for him. That was another cut I had to make where it was like, okay, I guess I've got to cut Watts here. Inside linebacker, I've got him carrying two. I've got Nick Jackson and Antonio Greer Jr. Nick Jackson made my original roster, but I had to cut some guys. I had to cut like 3 players. Nick Jackson was one of those players. I think they like him a lot. Greer Jr.'s been in the system a little bit, so he's a good option in case you need him. Cornerback, I've got Josh Hayes on the practice squad, as well as Kindle Vidor. In terms of these safeties, I've got Rashad Wisdom being kept as a backup safety, and Shiloh Sanders I have being put on the practice squad as well. Shout out Shiloh Sanders. He doesn't make the 53-man roster, but he does make my practice squad. Finally, Ryan Coe is kept at the kicker position. So folks, that's it. That is my 53-man roster predictions, as well as my practice squad predictions and some honorable mentions. Guys who could make that practice squad, may make some other practice squads somewhere around the league as well. But what do you guys think about my roster predictions? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? What do you think about my practice squad predictions as well? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it, guys. I'd love to hear about it down in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.